Are you immersed in a sea of business advice and education, but not sure what to embark on first? Instead of adding to the ocean of information, we're here to help you navigate it like a pro. The Wayfinding Growth Podcast will help you take a deep dive into new actionable strategies, tools, and tactics to help you grow. So start charting a course for business growth as you explore a better way to grow further, faster, with your hosts, Remington Begg and George B. Thomas.
And what is up, people? We are back for episode 7. Oh my gosh. Remington, did you know that 7 is actually like a statistical number for podcasts? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It's amazing because this is when actually most people stop doing their podcast. The good thing is we have some amazing guests coming up. The great thing is today, it's me and you. We're breaking down Dan Moyle's interview. Moving forward, we've got people like Joey Coleman. We've got Jeff C. coming on. So, folks, there's going to be a lot of crazy information for your business. You need to make sure you're sharing out the Wayfinding Growth podcast or video, however you're consuming this. But, Remington, let's go ahead and break down. You know, sometimes I'm like, we're going to just break down. It's great. No, let's break down the episode with Dan Moyle and maybe start with just some 50,000-foot view thoughts that you had of the interview.
Yeah, so for me, it was really cool to just hear Dan, and he really is just like the epitome of a happy, helpful human. Some of the big things around what Dan was saying, I think were almost subtweets. Like, he brought up a lot of stuff that around, marketing and biz dev and helpful communication, but then he also had these like whiz bangers that came right in from left field to right field that had some really good nuggets. And I'm super excited to kind of unpack those, because I don't even think he planned on those coming out, but it did. And I think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, it's amazing, like, podcasting or creating content, because there's a lot of times where you'll say things, and honestly, some people don't go back and watch themselves or listen to themselves. I do, because there's times I'm like, wow, that's pretty smart. I didn't think about that, except I did think about it in the moment, and he definitely had those times. I will say Dan is super easy to talk to. He's super smart, and I do want to say before we get too far into this, Remington, that Interview Valet, I have used that service before. It's amazing. If you are somebody who's trying, and by the way, they're not paying us. Like, this is not a sponsorship. Although,
but they could.
Yeah, it could be. I'm just saying, guys, it could be. Like, Tom and Dan, if you're listening to this, it could be a sponsorship. What they do for you, if you're a person out there and you're trying to like become a thought leader and you want to get your message out and you need to be on like 5 or 10 podcasts and talk about, your topic of choice, super dope. They're super easy to work with. They can help you. It can help you a ton. Remington, like, let's get into this, brother.
When we jump into the navigational tools, I know there were a lot of mentions around tools, but then there are some things that, Dan talked about specifically, but it was more of like ways of using those tools. As we start thinking about those things, the one thing he mentioned pretty heavily was Loom, which is a video recording service that makes it super easy for you to record a video and then share it online rather than having to produce it, edit it, upload it, download it. And then send it, kind of puts it all together. One of the things we talked about was that they're making some big moves.
I think you used the word serious on the actual episode.
Yeah. So serious moves, and they they just put out a notice, and there's a whole handful. But one of the things is they disclosed a public roadmap, which is pretty awesome. They did it in Trello, which I thought was interesting. But it's, letting people upvote the features that they wanted the most. And we'll put a link in the show notes for sure. But the biggest thing for me is, we've got these 4K cameras that are hooked up for the video podcast here, and we're using it all the time. Like, I want to share that, like, the crispness of that video, and then also show people like things in super high def. They're going to be coming out here in the coming months with 4K recording, which I don't think anyone in this space is doing that right now, which is going to be pretty incredible. So I can't wait for that. And then they've just got a new UI. So, while Dan is talking about it from a tactical point of view, I'm really excited to see what they come out with.
Definitely. And, Dan also brought up a tool called Boomerang, which is where you can schedule your emails. I love the idea of that. Actually, earlier in the week, I did a tutorial on how you can do something very similar to that in the HubSpot CRM Sales Pro tool. That's another tool that you guys might want to check out when it comes to making sure you're mapping out this helpful communication for marketing and biz dev. Like, look, if you're communicating with people, you probably want to have them in some sort of list so you can remember what you're actually talking to them about. I'm just saying, Remington, we kind of hit it old school on the additional tools that we felt people could use when it comes to this helpful communication. Me personally, I love the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's amazing. If you have not read that book, what the heck? No, I'm just kidding. But you should read that book. Or, like me, I love Audible. Get an Audible account, or if you have an Audible account, download it, listen to it. It is amazing the things that it will put into your mind to be a helpful human being, and the way that you communicate with other human beings, it'll just be impacted. It's absolutely amazing. Remington, what book? This is your Remington. That's what I'm going to say on this one.
So kind of out of left field here for the video listeners, I'm holding up the book right in front of my face by Steve Krug. Don't Make Me Think. So Don't Make Me Think is more of a UX and UI thing. It's also something that as you start thinking about and you listen to Dan talking about, he brings this up quite a few times. Like if you know they have the questions, or like if there's common questions, or if you think you can communicate better, he said something super old school, which is pick up the phone. But when we're talking about this specific book and how that ties in is, thinking about UX from a developer or design standpoint is making sure that you're not operating on assumptions. But thinking about it from a CX or the customer experience, or the being the helpful side of things, is if you know that they're going to have that question, just answer the question. Just put it out there. And I think that, you can pull a lot of things sometimes out of books that have nothing to do with the specific thing you're trying to accomplish. I know there's always the nuggets that I grab out of different things, but yeah, I immediately thought Don't Make Me Think was something that I had to bring up for this episode.
And I'll tell you, I got a question I want to throw out there, and that is, community, what tools do you use when it comes to communicating with other folks in the sales process, in the marketing process, in the biz dev process? Do you have a set of tools? We would love to know. You can always email, you can tweet us too. I don't care. Just smoke signals, whatever. Just let us, I don't know how to read smoke signals. Don't do that last one. But let us know the tools that you actually like to use. Hey, this episode is brought to you by our own Launchpad workshops. Those are HubSpot Launchpad workshops where we go out, we help companies who are either getting started with HubSpot, never used it before, really ramp up and get to use it quickly, or folks who have been using it historically but just not seeing the ROI or return on investment with that tool. That's what we do. As a matter of fact, in about 2 weeks, we'll be out in Iowa doing one of these workshops, so we're super excited. Remington, I'm also excited to be able to start charting the course for us to leave the dock of mediocrity when it comes to this helpful communication. Were there a couple of things that you pulled out of the charting the course section that Dan spoke about that really hit you, like right in the feels, brother?
Right in the feels? Well, a lot of what he said, right in the feels. But I think I really enjoyed how he was talking about the fact that it doesn't cost anything to start being helpful. Specifically with these tools like Loom is free, and I think Boomerang you can even use for free, but you don't even need Boomerang to be helpful. That's just scheduling your helpfulness. But as we start rolling into, being helpful, depending on the organization, they may not be okay with a video recap of a meeting or sending a video via email. But on the flip side, they may not know that that's even a thing. So why not lead with trying and, do the rest of the things that are part of, the structure of your organization. Another thing that I thought was really cool is he started going pretty crazy into like internal communication as well, which was really neat. I know because we've got a remote team that internal communication thing is super, super important. But I really love the fact he's like, sometimes you just got to pick up the phone. Old school, I know. It really is just kind of making sure that you're having communication with people the way they need it, not necessarily the way you want it.
One of the things he mentioned is that sometimes I just want to send an email without using your name because it's more of like a message, even though we're in our inbox. When talking about internal emails, that was like, oh my gosh, because I can't tell you how many times I battle with like feeling guilty of like, I don't want to take time to spell your name. I just want to give you the information, but are you going to think that I'm rude? Shoot, let me go ahead and spell your name out here, which by the way, I just burnt like 7 seconds that I was trying to save by not writing your name, thinking if I wanted to write your name. Oh my gosh. The other thing that Dan really talked about in here that I thought was super, dope, and not to throw you under the bus, Remington, but when we first got into this section, you said to him, so, talk to us about the marketing side and talk to us about the biz dev side. And this is something that historically, I've battled, you've battled trying to crush silos. Usually it's like the sales and marketing silo, but inherently we kind of wanted to start the conversation that way. And Dan immediately was eradicating silos, just eradicating, say, hey, no, it's just a thing. And I think that one of the pieces that I pulled out of that was that it's easier to be helpful when things are simplistic. And so many companies, like it's a 37-step process. Dude, I'm just trying to take out the trash. Like, I should just be able to grab the bag and walk outside. No, it's 37 steps. This is how you do it. And it gets super confusing. So keep it simple so that you could be helpful. The other thing he talked about that really got me going, and you talk about it a lot internally, leading from the front. He was kind of mentioning servanthood leadership, but it was really this like leading from the front, partnership, getting complete buy-in in the entire company, which was amazing. And last but not least, always be testing. We hear that all the time, and so that was like no big deal. But of course, Dan, and you talked about the tweetable moments, like these tweet bombs, if you will. Ooh, yeah, a tweet bomb. Anyway, he said always be testing and finished it up with always be proving. And man, so many times people were like, yeah, we're testing it, but then we forget about it and we have no clue what that test meant sometimes. Anyway, you should always be proving what you're testing. It was a good section though. That charting the course was a good section. And then we quickly moved into like the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, so it's an interesting theme going on in the Bermuda Triangle sections across, I would say, just about every interview we've done.
Yeah.
That was the same, and it was beware of the naysayer. And that with own video is the old guy. But then you've got those people that are, negative Nancy's or negative Bills, whatever. But then you've got this thought of, going back to that, is it free? If it's free, then if it's not costing anything and it's still along the lines of how you should communicate with your customers, just prove it, right? And you mentioned that above. I think a big part of this is making sure that you know why you're trying to do it as you get into it. And if you don't really understand what you're trying to accomplish, then that's another problem.
Yeah. And, this part for me, the Bermuda Triangle, and I even think you said in the episode, like, I think the office is bugged. Like, are there cameras in the office? Because Dan brought up, giving things away or being helpful is not giving things away. I like the fact in the Bermuda Triangle that he was like not giving up. Like that's a thing, look, it might get difficult. It might get messy, but you have to continue to go. You have to continue to push on. Like you have gone through this historically. I have gone through this historically and will continue to go through this like until I end up on that inbound.
Hashtag agency life.
Oh, I'm just telling you, agency life and hashtag inbound journey to a keynote stage. I won't bring that up, but I just did. Anyway,
it'll happen.
Hey, one of these days, they might be rolling me out to like the Hurstel Park and hey, here he is. I don't know, but I'm going to keep going till that day. But another part of this was he said measure everything. Like some companies, they try to measure everything or they measure the wrong things. And here's the thing. Really pay attention to what you're measuring, why you're measuring it. Make sure it's important. There's just so much. If you did not listen, if you're listening to us ramble right now on all things Dan Moyle, on all things helpful communication for marketing and biz dev, and you didn't listen to the episode, you got to go back there. There's so many nuggets in there. We've said nuggets like 12 times on this episode, I think.
Your point about the measuring the wrong things, I call that analysis paralysis, right? And so, one of the things I think we mentioned it during that chat was, the qualitative and the quantitative, right? Looking at both of those, because if your job becomes easier because you're having more effective communication internally with a customer, it's a win. If you're getting more leads because you're helping people from a marketing perspective, it's a win. If you get more leads, that's something measurable. But if your job's easier, that might not be measurable, but it adds to your quality of life and business, I guess.
You know what else gets leads, Remington Begg, might I say, fine sir? Captain Killing It. It gets leads as well. I love this section. Like, this section makes me happy. I've heard from the interwebs that it makes the listeners happy as well. And this week, we are going to talk about what could be one of the most amazing human beings ever, but for sure of this week. And I'm gonna put a link. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes so you can see what this is all about, because you have to have the visuals. There's a video you can watch. There's some pictures, but let me just go ahead and paint a story, because some of you are listening to this on the audio version, some of you are watching.
Before you explain it, we got to drop in just a couple seconds of that video he shared.
And you're probably wondering, what the heck is that? You're curious. Now let me paint a picture of what that is. I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed and I see this video, and it's water coming out of a ceiling of some type of room. I have no clue. And beside it, I see a picture of none other, our friend Jay Bear. And then I start to read all that is going on, and he is, of course, he travels the world. So he stays in a bazillion, gazillion hotels, trazillion. I don't know which one of those numbers is larger. You guys figure it out. But hotel rooms. And this time he wakes up to, it raining out of the ceiling of the room that he's in. Hey, I'll help you out. It's a broken pipe. Here's where it gets interesting, and why I think Jay Bear is one of the most amazing human beings on the planet, because he could have gone negative. He could have got super pissed. He could have been like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get my money back. This hotel is the worst.
He could have said what hotel it was.
Oh yeah. He didn't even mention that. Right? And so, amazing human. And he gave all of us a pro tip. A pro tip. He said, hey, here's the deal. This is what I learned. You should sleep with an umbrella next to your bed, just in case. And I lost it. I thought it was funny. Look, he managed himself through a situation that he was put in. He had to go get washed up in the sports center. He had to go sit in the business center. It could have been a huge inconvenience. He had to go speak to a group of people a couple hours later. It could have got him all flustered, but of course, he went, and he was the ultimate professional, because he is this week's Captain Killing It. Whew, Remington, I feel like we're just burning through this episode, brother.
Yeah, so we're getting that time. So closing remarks, man. What do you have to leave people with as we're closing this out?
Dan said, again, a ton of great stuff, but one of the things that really punched me in the face, because I remember back when I first got started, and I hated my voice. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't sure if, how do you even podcast, right? And Dan said, don't be afraid to be the talent. And look, anybody who is out there, the thing that I would give you around this is that sometimes what you think is your biggest weakness actually ends up being your largest strength. Because like me, I hated my voice, and within a year of doing podcasting, I go to inbound and people are like, man, you sound like a radio DJ. It's the mics, people. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's the mics. But I was like, dang, like I would have never started if somebody didn't push me along the way to like do this thing. The other thing that was really impactful is he was like, dude, just be helpful. Right? No matter what, no matter who you are, like just be helpful. And I go to, and he may have said, but right now in my mind, I'm like, there's this thing of like always be closing. And I'm like, nah, always be helpful. And here's what I'll say. And like the people who are listening can't see the smile, but the people who are watching, you see the smile. I can be a testament to being helpful. People, it'll take you places. I'm just saying.
100%. For me, it was a couple things. And so this morning, actually, I used that line, don't be afraid of being the talent. So that was awesome. I had a meeting with a longtime client, talking to him about needing to get on board with video. And I was like, we need to come over and record a couple of videos of you doing your thing. And she immediately goes, oh, yeah, you can use her. And I was like, everyone knows you. Like, yeah. Don't be afraid. You got to get on it. So, that was huge. I'm already using that. Don't be afraid to be the talent. A lot of in between all of the things he was saying, I kept having this thing, and I say it all the time at Impulse, but inoculate the objection, right? If you know that you're going to run into some resistance or some issue, inoculate it. That could be in sales process. That could be if you know that this person doesn't communicate real well, make sure they see your face in a video. It could be that, you want to prove that this new way of communicating works. Just inoculate the objection, figure out what it takes in order to make that objection inconsequential. And then once you get that objection, you've got it in the bag already. You can just make it happen. So it was a great episode. I was super stoked to get Dan back in to visit us, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do.
He is an amazing human, and hey, Wayfinding Growth community, you listened to the episode. Our question for you is, what were your major takeaways? What did you find out? What do you want to let us know about? You can let Remington and I know by just emailing WG@impulsecreative.com. It'll come to both of us. I want to thank you. Remington wants to thank you for your engagement, your listenership. It's been amazing. It's 7 short episodes, but still great things are happening. I'm really excited about this. If you want to reach out to us because you were like, hey, I'm trying to navigate my business in this direction, or we sure would love to learn these things, you can reach out also to each individual. Remington at Impulse Creative. I'm George at Impulse Creative. I do want to let you know, if you are listening on your favorite podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, we're on all those, people. I'm just throwing that out there. But first of all, what I'd say to you is, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you watching the video? No, I'm just kidding. You go ahead and consume this content.
But you can make up for it and give us a review.
Yeah. That's what we really want. You can give us a review. 5 stars is enough. A couple nice words. Or, hey, if you're a listener and you're like, man, this thing sucks, throw it in there. Love to know. We can always make changes. I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyway, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, then you know what to do. You want to hit that subscribe button. You want to hit the bell for instant notifications so that you can just listen to all the things that we wax poetic about. Don't forget, upcoming in the next few weeks, Joey Coleman. We're going to be talking about buyer's remorse and the first 100 days after they turn into a customer. Jeff C's got some amazing tips for you. I can't wait. But until next time, make sure you're doing all you can do to leave the dock of mediocrity and set sail into the sunset of your success.